Hello and welcome to News Now. Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari has said the country would need to combine monetary policies with fiscal and structural policies in order to overcome its worst economic crisis in decades and return to growth. The president was speaking at a meeting of African Central Bank governors in Abuja. Buhari said the continent was confronted with slowing growth, weakening demand, rising inflation, restrictions to capital flows, rising debt levels, increases in exchange rate volatility, and a depletion of foreign reserves. Economists have criticized President Buhari and the government for not doing enough to address the economic crisis in the country.
Those of us who rely on only natural resources, such as Nigeria, Angola, South Africa, and Mozambique, have been hit the hardest. We have also had to contend with the effect of the Ebola virus disease, which struck some countries in the West Africa suddenly. Furthermore, China, a major trade and business partner to a number of African countries, is currently slowing down as it enables its economy, sparking fears of further weakening. Facing these challenges, African central banks have been at their best in keeping African economies afloat through proactive and effective combination of conventional and innovative monetary policies. I urge you to continue to look for original homegrown solutions, not rely on fit-for-all purposes. Prescriptions handed down from abroad. The world is a dynamic place, and with innovation we can survive. In Nigeria, the Central Bank of Nigeria has for many years spearheaded economic stimulus measures through specific intervention programs. I think these measures should be sustained through good times and through difficult times.
The high demanded program of attendance being witnessed today at the African Central Bank Government Symposium from outside Africa and various parts of our continent is a testimony of our collective resolve and commitment to utilize the platform provided by our association to deliberate and propose solutions to the numerous economic challenges facing our continent. That is why this year's theme titled Unwavering Unconventional Monetary Policies, Implications of Monetary Policy and Place Financial Stability in Africa squarely captures one of the major challenges we are grappling with at the moment in the world and our continent in particular.
Now, the United Nations has warned the Nigerian government of an economic slowdown compounded by Boko Haram attacks, which could leave 5.5 million people needing food aid in the volatile northeast region of the country by next month. According to the UN's World Food Programme spokesperson Bettina Lassa, said the drop in oil prices and sharp rise in the cost of imported staples have actually compounded the years of violence suffered by the people in the northeast region. She also said the government troops' advance against the militants has helped expose the catastrophic levels of suffering in Borno and Yobe State as aid workers were able to gain access to the region. Now, World Food Programme has delivered food to 170,000 people in northeastern Nigeria, but hopes to reach 700,000 by the end of the year. A British vessel has been rescued by the Nigerian Navy from sea pirates. The ship was attacked 20 nautical miles offshore Bonny. In a statement signed by spokesperson of the Navy, Commodore Christian Ezekobe, he said the rescue operation was successful owing to the timely alert by the International Maritime Bureau to the Naval Regional Maritime Awareness Center. According to Ezekobe, the naval forces were able to overpower the attackers after a shootout that made them flee the scene. The police in Akwa Ibom State have arrested 3 suspected militants with high-power bombs capable of sinking any ship, boat or pipelines. The State Commissioner of Police, Murtala Mani, who paraded the criminals at the State Police Headquarters, Ikot Akpan, Abia, said the suspects were arrested on August the 18th, 2016 through an intelligence report. The State Police boss gave the names of the suspected militants as Nelson Simiefa, aged 34 from Bayelsa State, Victor Emmanuel Williams, aged 34 from Etinan local government area of Akwa Ibom State, and Nseobong Dixon, aged 38 from Eket local government area, also from Akwa Ibom State. Among the items recovered are 2 high-powered IED bombs now measuring 60 to 80.5 centimeters and 44/5.5 centimeters respectively, and 1 long single high-powered propelled launcher bomb measuring 78 actually stroke 4.55 centimeters. Chairman of Nigeria's Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has called on Nigerians to join hands with the commission to rid the country of corruption. Ibrahim Magu spoke with journalists shortly after speaking at a lecture organized by the National Association of Democratic Lawyers in Lagos. He said adults must come together to fight the corruption scourge in Nigeria so as to discourage the younger generation from becoming corrupt. Also speaking to newsmen at the event, National President of the Committee for the Defense of Human Rights, Malaki Ogumado, said the National Association of Democratic Lawyers is a group of lawyers that actually believe in justice, fairness, and the fight against corruption in Nigeria.
Let's put heads together so that together we can tackle corruption in a better way. Everybody has a stake in this. Everybody, from the infant to the last man. But those of us who are of advanced age, we should have to clean the system so that the children will come and get a better tomorrow. Some of them don't even believe that corruption is wrong. We have a duty. There are a lot of things we are doing. There are a lot of preventive measures. There are enlightenment programs that educating people. Some people, even though they are educated, they still seem to believe that the corruption is really wrong. So it is our duty and your duty to help educate the evils of corruption to people, for them to understand, for them to key in whether they are paid or they are not paid, because it is about Nigeria, it is about national interest, it is about the public interest. We must all fight to see that we kill corruption in this country, so that Nigeria will be like any other country. Because I'm telling you, it's a wonder. Even outside this country, the moment you say Nigeria, you see how Oyibo open their eye. So this country is great.
Whoever is a victim of corruption knows precisely where to go. But essentially, the NADL, National Association of Democratic Lawyers, have decided to raise the bar a little and to say that there is a need to create a platform around which progressive-minded lawyers who are clearly conscious of their responsibility within a community, a society, a state, must move away from the usual jamboree that attracts this elitist gathering, and then make themselves available for the real task of nation building. And I think that falls clearly within the bracket of what is expected of lawyers. And I'm sure you went away with the very robust and profound lecture by the professor who was here. By and large, it is also to say that we are in league with those anti-corruption agencies whom we are sure are determined. However, we also reserve our right to be able to point out when we know they are making mistakes, obvious mistakes.
President Muhammadu Buhari on Friday met with the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Yakubu Dogara, at the presidential villa in Abuja. Now, this will be the second time both leaders will be meeting following accusations against the Speaker by former chairman of the House Committee on Appropriation, Abdul Mumin Jibrin, that he padded the 2016 budget. It would be recalled that the Office of the Presidency had said the 2016 budget that was signed into law was not padded, but President Buhari has said the issue will be investigated and that anyone found culpable will be punished. After the closed-door meeting, Dogara refused to disclose to newsmen what the meeting was all about. He, however, said he is on vacation as the House is still on recess and only using the free time to pay the president a visit. Now, since July the 21st, when Jibrin first made his allegation of budget padding against Dogara and 3 other leaders of the House, he's publicly made actually a series of other corruption allegations against the quartet, even though the Speaker has continued to deny he padded the budget. The Police Service Commission says it has shortlisted 110,469 applicants across the country to take part in its upcoming aptitude test. Chairman of the Commission, Mike Okiro, said the aptitude test for recruitment into the Nigerian police force would hold on Monday through Wednesday. Speaking at a news conference in Abuja, Okiro said out of the 338,250 applicants that took part in the exercise, 110,469 were shortlisted for the office of cadet ASPs, cadet inspector and police constables. He assured Nigerians that the exercise would be transparent and all candidates would receive equal opportunities. Now, more than 911,438 people had applied for the job. However, the police force is seeking to recruit just 10,000 personnel into the force. A group of youths in Nigeria have protested the move by the Nigerian Immigration Service to conduct a fresh recruitment exercise. The youths who were part of the 2014 controversial Immigration Service recruitment exercise say they have not been posted irrespective of government's directive that they be employed. Now, the protesters held down traffic in the nation's capital as they made their way to the presidential villa over what they termed injustice on the part of the Immigration Service. They were, however, confronted by heavily armed security personnel who stopped them in their tracks. Now, civil rights activist Aisha Yusufu, who joined the protest march, decried what she calls the insensitivity of the federal government to the plight of its citizens, while also accusing the Immigration Service of replacing some of the recruits with relatives of perceived influential Nigerians.
Nobody can harass us, nobody can intimidate us. We are law-abiding citizens. And the thing for me, the FCT Commissioner of Police is a disgrace to the Nigerian police force. I have seen a Nigerian police force where they have been so amazing in the last few years. They have worked so well. And for me to hear the Commissioner of Police, FCT, telling me as a citizen, where was I? That why didn't I march when massive looting was taking place? So he knew massive looting was taking place and he sat down there and he wore his uniform and he turned the other way. The AFCC should visit him because he said to me, where was I when massive looting was taking place? We will march, we will continue our march to the president. We are here to talk to the president and let him know that injustice is being meted out in his name. When he met with the Minister of Interior, we heard that he asked him to reinstate the Nigeria 2000. They didn't do a reinstatement. What they put out in the newspaper publication is to say that fresh applicants, Nigerian Immigration 2000 applicants, they are not applicants. It's because they have replaced them with their own. Now they want to start a new one. No. Are we good to go? Good to go! Good to go! Are we good to go? Good to go! Good to go! Good to go! Who are we?
They are staff of the Nigerian Immigration Service. It's Nigerian Immigration Service 2000. After the botched recruitment into the NIS in 2004, which claimed the lives of some people, the former government, former administration decided to do the right thing. They decided to do a correct recruitment. They advertised in the papers for people who were interested in applying. Over 1 million people applied. They did computer-based tests, they did interviews, they did screenings. They got the best 2,000 out of over 1 million to do it. They went through training school, they were given appointment letters, they have their service numbers. They did everything that's required of them to do. They even went back to their commands, and then they were dispersed, just like that. They sent a letter and asked them to go on a 2-week break, and when they came back, it was one thing after the other. But that was 1 year ago. Tomorrow is going to be exactly 1 year. It was August 20, 2015. And for 1 year, they have been on the streets. These are people who are trained in carrying arms, in bearing arms. 2,000 of them facing injustice in a time when we're facing Boko Haram on one side, the militants on the other side, herdsmen on the other side, kidnappers on the other side. It is simply not just a wise decision, apart from the fact that it is gross injustice. They've done a series of marches. They've been to the National Assembly. The National Assembly, the House of Representatives passed a resolution on the 12th of April 2016 mandating the Nigerian Immigration Service to integrate them and to pay them all their emoluments. They didn't do that. In this process, they have employed other people through the back door and gave people appointment letters, and they're in training school to replace them. Why? Simply because those people have connections these ones don't have.
Now, the Nigerian government says it will release 9.8 billion naira for polio vaccines across the country. The 9.8 billion to be released is exclusive of the 6.5 billion naira approved by the Ministry of Finance when the polio crisis started. Minister of Health Isaac Adewale, who disclosed this at a briefing in Abuja, said the money would be used to execute the polio response plan developed by the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency and its partners.
These campaigns will be synchronized with the affected regions and provinces in Chad, Niger, Cameroon, and Central African Republic. For the sub-national campaigns, 31,540,054 children are targeted to be vaccinated each round with oral polio vaccines across states in the northeast, northwest, and central zones of the country. For the nationwide response, 56,363,618 children will be vaccinated between October and November 2016. The revised plan was informed by factors such as historical data on why polio virus affected areas, pattern of transmission over the last 5 years, population displacements due to insecurity in the Northeast, likelihood of spread of the virus to other neighboring countries, and population immunity. Furthermore, the justification for the expansion of the initial schedule includes the fact that given the history of exportation to other countries and the suboptimal routine immunization coverage in several countries in the African region, the response requires that adequate protection be provided to vulnerable children at risk of infection.
While the Minister of Health has been explaining the outcome of his ministry's investigation into the two new polio cases, which has now set the country back in the fight against the disease. Here's what he's been saying.
Report from the detailed investigation carried out by a team revealed that both cases came from security compromised areas of Borno State, which have had limited access to any form of health services, including immunization, since 2011. The case reported in Jere local government area was from a child who had arrived at an internally displaced persons camp in Muna camp in Jere local government around Maiduguri after trekking for 2 days following the provision of an escape corridor by the military authorities. The second case was detected in Goza local government of Borno State. Both local government areas have had their health facilities destroyed by insurgents, and accessibility was a barrier to service provision. Both cases have been linked to the polio cases detected in Bama in 2011. For Nigeria, while the timely response in the affected local government areas and its environs is critical, the country needs to be proactive to ensure all eligible children are vaccinated within the shortest time feasible so as to limit the spread of the virus beyond the affected areas and the borders of this country. There remains a high risk of further spread of the virus due to population movement within and across the state. This spread is not limited to surrounding states, but will also affect neighboring countries around the Lake Chad region. So far, we have commenced immunization of children in accessible areas of Goza, Jere, Maiduguri Municipal Council, Bama, Mafa local government areas concurrently with active case search.
Now, a medical doctor and 3 others have reportedly died of Lassa fever in Anambra State, southeast Nigeria. This was disclosed during a one-day Lassa fever training workshop organized by the State Ministry of Health. A resource person in the workshop, Dr. Jane Ezeonu, confirmed that the medical doctor died at the Nnamdi Azikiwe Teaching Hospital, Nnewi, on Tuesday. The Director of Public Health in the state, Dr. Emmanuel Okafor, said the state recorded the death of 3 others recently. Now, Lagos may hold a huge attraction for millions of Nigerians, but a recent survey of The Economist magazine's intelligence unit has ranked the city as the 3rd worst city to live in the world. Out of the 140 countries listed in the survey, Lagos was ranked 138. Now, the report cited issues of continuous threat from Boko Haram and other security mayhem that may have been threatening the city as constraints to the stability in the state. The criteria used in drawing up the survey are stability, healthcare, culture, environment, education, and infrastructure. Well, if you ask me, I'll say Lagos is a very good place to live in. It's a wonderful city. The Naira on Tuesday weakened further against the United States dollar on the official market. Now, the currency traded at an all-time low of 365 Naira to the dollar in a single interbank market trade of $1 million. Now, this will be the first time the Naira will perform so poorly after the central bank last month lifted its peg on the currency in June to allow it to trade freely on the interbank market. Now, investors have welcomed the removal of currency controls, but many are still steering clear until the Nigerian economy shows a sign of concrete recovery. We'll take a short break now, and News Now will be right back.
Corruption not in my country.
Hello, Alhaji. Right now I'm in Abuja. No. Hello, Adamu. Right now I'm in Kano. Yes. When I get back, I will just call you. Look, what is wrong with you? I'm talking on the phone and you are gesticulating and doing. What's wrong with you?
Daddy, where exactly are we as we speak?
Are you alright? This is Lagos.
Well, you just lied to someone that we are in Abuja.
Keep quiet. Who told you can tell an elderly person is lying?
Daddy, you just lied. And by lying, you are raising corrupt children for the future of Nigeria. That is corruption, not in my country.
Corruption not in my country.
Welcome back. The Nigerian government says civil servants and low-income earners will form the bulk of the first beneficiaries of the new housing scheme that will kick off in October this year. Minister of Works, Power and Housing Babatunde Fashola told stakeholders in Lagos on Friday that the credit system where owners pay as they earn will be applied to address the 17 million housing deficits in the country. Our correspondent Abiola Ismail has the details of that story.
With a deficit put at 17 million houses, Nigeria has about the most challenging housing crisis on the continent. The situation is worse in major cities like Lagos, the country's commercial capital, which has a population of around 22 million people. Over the years, successful governments have failed to attend to this basic need of the citizens in spite of several promises made during the political campaigns and speeches. Experts say the government's neglect of the housing, property and production sectors is partly responsible for the country's economy struggling at the moment.
If you still have a plot of land, just like the governor said, they still have so many plots of land in Egbeda that belongs to federal government, well over 14,000 hectares, which can be developed. If you are going to put infrastructure on those, it will cost money. So, in the interim, look at the existing estates and start doing something. And that is my own submission.
Today, Nigerians are waiting patiently to see President Muhammadu Buhari fulfill his campaign promises of providing affordable housing units for especially to the low class. and it appears the president is now making moves not to disappoint.
There are cooperatives who can acquire land, who want to build or who want to enter into our scheme. There is opportunity either through Shelter Afrique or through Federal Mortgage Bank as it gets stronger and its capital base increases to create synergies so that you can perhaps benefit from development funding just like members of REDAM do and so on and so forth.
It is estimated that Nigeria requires 17 million plots of land to meet its 17 million housing units need. Senator Binga Shafa, a one-term permanent secretary on land in Lagos State, says land remains the major impediment to the construction of houses in Nigeria.
If possible, release those parcels of land free of charge. It will assist in ameliorating the pressures and the problems of our people.
To help over the challenge of land, 24 of Nigeria's 36 states have now signed up to make land available for the smooth takeoff of the mass housing of the federal government. Abiola Ismail, TV360 Lagos.
Nigeria's Minister of Finance, Kemi Adeosun, says the government has so far pumped in 400 billion naira into the economy. She said the move is part of the overall plan of the government to reflate the economy and get it up and running again. She was speaking in Abuja at an interactive session with journalists to explain what the government is doing to revive the Nigerian economy.
Reflating the economy, we said from the beginning with this budget that the economy needed a spending stimulus. What does that mean? It means government spending money, putting money into people's hands so that people too can spend, so that the chain in the economy resumes, the chain that grows our economic growth or generates our economic growth. So far, we have spent on capital over 400 billion. That's between May, when the budget was signed, and today. And even as we leave here now, we're going for another capital allocation meeting where we're going to allocate another 60 billion. So we're pumping money into the economy at a very rapid rate. As I say, it will take a little bit of time. What are the delays and challenges? One, a lot of agencies have to do their procurement process. Now, there's a balance between speed and transparency. If we say to them, quick, just work with the contractors you have, that's not necessarily fair on the rest of Nigeria. If you check most of your newspapers, you see adverts for various contracts. Those are contracts that people are bidding for. The winners of those contracts get paid, they bring back their workers, and the economic recovery begins. So there have been some delays caused by the procurement process, but we are getting over them. What are the other delays in terms of impact? As I explained in my opening speech, some contractors had not been paid since 2012. And they are owed significant amounts of money. So one of them, let me give you an example, I won't say their name. They got 20 billion in the last release, but we're owing 81 billion. So that 20 billion is like a drop in the ocean. Now what we've had to do to them is say, look, we didn't incur that 80 billion that you're owed. You've been owed this money since 2013 and you didn't die. Please, this 20 that we gave you, use it to work. As you work, we'll begin to address the arrears. But what is most important for us is please get your people back to work. And in fairness to the contractors, majority of them have heeded our call and have gone back to work. But that overhang of debt that we inherited has really slowed things down. Because if we didn't owe them, the 20 billion would go much, much further. But some of them said, look, the money I received just pays the interest on the loan. I've been running overdraft, government hasn't paid me for years. So we're negotiating with them to try and make sure that the impact is felt. So those are some of the challenges, but really we're borrowing. Yes, we also have increased our revenues, especially our independently generated revenues. We are focused on that. We've been able to get about 200 billion so far, and more is coming in on a daily basis from all those agencies that in the past were not paying money in. We meet with them daily, we give them targets, we task them, we block them from spending beyond approved limits so that more money is available in the Consolidated Revenue Fund. And that's why the cash planning meeting where we allocate capital, which used to be once a quarter, is now once a week. As money comes in, we're pushing it out. And so we're very confident that as we continue to do this spending stimulus, you'll start to see the shoots of recovery.
Now, Mrs. Adeosun also used the opportunity to shed more light on how the Treasury single account works.
The TSA is really, let me explain, because we started TSA in 2011 when I was in state government. We had about 4,000 bank accounts for the state. And what we did was we wrote to every bank, we said, close all those accounts, we want one account per bank. We discovered billions, some of which had been left in accounts since the 70s. And then we were better able to control our balances. But the reason why you can't just take that money and spend it is that TSA, for example, like the PermSec said, it has money that is not necessarily the federal government's money. So, for example, FAC belongs to state governments. If I take their money and spend, when it's time to pay their money, I'll be struggling. So financial discipline is about knowing what money is yours. And what we've done with the Office of the Accountant General is looked at all those balances, gone to those agencies. Some of them have big balances that over the years they should have paid that money into the Federation account. We are forcing them to pay it in because it's not their money. That is money that should come into the Federation. But to go and take individual agencies' money and borrow from it could cause a further crisis. For example, if I take the oil industry, the international oil companies for the joint ventures, they put their money in to a joint account with NNPC. If I go and spend their money on a road, when they're ready to do their oil drilling, they'll have no money. So it seems like a very good solution, but it's actually not right. Where we get benefits from TSA are: one, control. We're able to see what's being spent. Two, short-term borrowing, like taking overdrafts. We don't do that anymore because when you look at the overall balance, we're usually in some form of credit. But it's not advisable in accounting terms. It's like robbing Peter to pay Paul. Eventually, Peter will come and we'll have a problem. So what we're trying to make sure is that the money that agencies have is accounted for. That which belongs to the federal government is paid into this consolidated revenue fund, and then we can spend from there.
Well, Brent crude oil fell on Friday after hitting an 8-week high as weak fundamentals countered a lift in sentiment. Now, this follows talks on possible output freeze though futures actually remained on track to rise for a third consecutive week. Brent crude were trading at $50.50 per barrel, and U.S. crude futures were down 20 cents at $48.02 a barrel. Nigeria's oil minister Ibe Kachiko on Thursday said it was highly unlikely a producer meeting of OPEC and non-OPEC producers next month will agree to cut production output. Kachiko, however, said there's hope the meeting could help shore up crude prices. Many OPEC members have been hurt badly by a collapse in oil prices over the last 2 years. The producer meeting is slated for next month in Algeria. Rwandan National Police said they killed 3 suspected Islamist militants and arrested 3 others in the western district of Rusizi. A police statement said the 3 who were killed had turned violent in resisting arrest during a raid that followed a tip-off from the public. Police say they have recently been investigating individuals suspected of links with foreign terror groups. In January, a Muslim cleric suspected of recruiting for so-called Islamic State was shot dead in Kigali. Paul Manafort, campaign chairman for Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump, has resigned just 2 months after taking the helm. Trump confirmed Manafort's departure in a statement. Now, Manafort, 67, has come under fire for his ties to Russian interest in former Ukraine President Viktor Yanukovych. But it is not yet clear why he left the team, which was overhauled earlier this week with the addition of a new campaign chief executive and a new campaign manager. Recent opinion polls have shown Trump losing ground now to Clinton, a former U.S. Senator and First Lady, in the race for the November 8 election. To sports now, newly appointed Super Eagles technical advisor Gernot Rohr has released the names of players that will take part in next month's Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers against Tanzania. The match will take place at the Akwa Ibom International Stadium, Uyo, on Saturday September the 3rd, 2016. Now, Uyo, by the way, is in the south of Nigeria. The 63-year-old and the Super Eagles would use the game as some sort of rehearsal for the 2018 FIFA World Cup Qualifier Series match, with Nigeria playing its first match against Zambia in Ndola in October. Among the names on the list is team captain Mikel Obi, who will lead the Dream Team 6 squad in their third-place match against Honduras at the ongoing Olympics tournament taking place in Brazil. That's in Rio now, Brazil. Nigeria Minister of Sports, a controversial minister, I should say, Solomon Dalong, has admitted its ministry's failure now to properly prepare the country's representative at the ongoing 2016 Olympics, which has cost the country any chance of winning any medal. Nigeria has yet to win a medal for the Rio Olympics Games, almost coming to a close. Now, Dalong said the performance so far reflected the level of preparations Nigerian athletes received. He also commended the Dream Team 6 performance in the football event despite losing 0-2 to Germany in one of the semi-finals. The minister, however, promised to establish a system that will enable early preparations for the next game in Tokyo, Japan. Let's hope he does that. The other committee of the Nigerian National League has put on hold the Nigeria Premier League over insecurity and violence at match venues. In a statement signed by chairman of the drafting committee, Aloy Chukwuemeka, he said the committee has resolved to suspend the Nigerian Premier League till September the 3rd, 2016, following a series of violence at match venues. According to him, the recent violence at club venues does not show the beauty of football and speaks badly about the game. Well, that's it on News Now. Well, thank you very much for watching. Continue to stay tuned to TV360.